Good morning. Here we are at American Snippets on a chilly Wednesday here. We're going to brighten it up here in New York and throughout the country. If you've been following us for more than half a second, or if you're just following us now, you're seeing us for the first time, we're going to tell you about our Great American Summit because, you know, American Snippets is about patriotism and positivity and leading by example to bring this country back to its core values the way that it was intended to be. And our Great American Summit is coming up in January in Texas on January 7th and 8th. And this is everything that Dave and I have been working towards is coming to life in Irving, Texas on January 7th and 8th. And we could not be more excited to be doing what we're doing and to be working with the extraordinary people who have come forward and stepped forward and said, yes, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of swinging that pendulum back to everything that we know America is about, to helping one another, to supporting each other, to connecting and collaborating and conquering our challenges together. And today we are going to bring you Jaco Booyens. Jaco Booyens is one of, I don't know for sure how I have not heard about you earlier, Jaco, and I'm so glad and so proud to know you now and so excited to be just some small part of the work that you're doing. Jaco, you have dedicated yourself in such an intense and complete way to pushing back against such evil in this world and primarily against human trafficking. Your two nonprofits are going to be beneficiaries of our event. And part of what we're telling people about this event is that just by coming, just by signing up, just by buying a ticket, just by donating $5 or $10, they are a part of actually impacting change that is going to affect people's lives, not only in this country, but throughout the world through people like you, Jaco. So let's start quick. We're going to keep this very short today, 15 minutes or so. So let's just give us a quick background on you and why is it that you have dedicated yourself to the extent that you have to push back against such a large and just powerful entity as human trafficking.
Yeah, Barb and Dave, thank you so much for having me on the snippets, but also for inviting us to be part of Great American Summit, which I think is so timely. It is time in our nation for the people to take back culture and community. And so, you know, we fight for faith, family, and freedom. It's really what it all boils down to. At the end of the day, it's about the heart of God. At the end of the day, it's about a culture that is godless or does not see the word of God as the absolute truth. That culture will fall. Historically, it has fallen every single time. If you add to that component embracing sexual immorality, the culture has no chance. No chance. Every single culture in history that has embraced sexual immorality has fallen within 3 generations. The Romans, the Greeks, even the Asians, they fall. The empires fall because of sexual immorality. And we embraced sexual immorality in 1960. You know, and so we fight child sexual exploitation, sex trafficking of both minors and adults. And by default, Barb, what that does is it puts us in the education conversation. It puts us in the border conversation. It puts us in legislation. It has us go head to head with the White House and local government and state senators and district attorneys and lawyers, you know, and school superintendents of ISDs. And so we're in a moment in our country right now that if fathers will step back in and father the home, if fathers will step back in and earn the hearts of their daughters and train their sons how to treat women, the value of women, how precious women really are. And for once we'll see the boys that are being sexually exploited and create resources for the boys, we can turn this tide, but it is infiltrating our culture and our society. So we fight it on all these levels. And so it's awareness and prevention. We work on case building, case management, and rescues. We work with law enforcement, every single law enforcement division in our nation that you can think of. You cannot stop this crime without law enforcement. You can't defund the police on one hand and say you're going to fight for children on the other, because these special task forces and police are the first ones that suffer when you defund police. So what we do is we educate the public what they can physically do in their community. It's not about the White House. It's what can you do in your street, in your home, in your kid's school? How are they attacking your child? Because the parents don't even know. And so we bring awareness. And at this summit, we're going to educate people. They're going to walk in one way and walk out another way, empowered, knowing exactly what to do because you are hosting this summit. And it's going to be all these speakers that are going to come in and deposit their experience into the American culture, the people that you are speaking to. They're going to be able to go home and change culture, take the narrative back, no longer do triage in our nation, but actually go do surgery, change things, deep rooted issues in our country. And one of them, one of the most vile, is the sexual exploitation of children. We're the number one nation on earth commercializing sex with children. Dallas, Texas is the number one city in the US for child sex trafficking. Houston, Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so these are real issues. So by God's design, is your summit also just outside of this, the parameter of Dallas? This is a real issue. We can talk for days about what's really happening on the border. Why is the border really allowed to be open? Why knowing that you can't cross the border on the Mexican side through the cartel if you do not have a child with you? It's literally become where a child is the token of access, both through the cartel zone and into the US. And we just have to call out truth and then empower the people through these kind of summits like you and Dave are doing. God bless you. And get power and information, truth back to the peoples and empower them, call them up to go fight.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that is going to be so extraordinary about hearing you talk at this event, Jaco, is because there's so much about this issue. And I will say it feels to me, to somebody who has been blessed not to have been directly touched by this particular evil. You know, we all have evil in our life. This is not one that has directly impacted me. So I feel like if it is not something that has directly impacted you per se, then you may not even have heard about it. You know, this didn't even come to my awareness until a couple years ago. You always hear about it in the background, but it's always sort of almost romanticized in Hollywood and in movies and stuff. And it just seems like something that couldn't possibly be happening in this country. It seems like it could never be happening in our neighborhood. But when you dig into it, you hear that in virtually every neighborhood across the country, there are victims of this. What are some things, real quick, I'm gonna ask you a couple quick questions about this, then we're gonna get into your nonprofits, because your nonprofits are beneficiaries of this event. I really want people to understand the good that they're directly going to be doing and why it's so important that we support organizations like yours, whether through this event or whether people want to hop on your site and just donate directly to you or support you in whatever way. So what is a warning sign or a symptom of somebody? How can I be about my business and my day and bump into somebody or cross paths with somebody who may be experiencing, maybe trapped in that right now, but I wouldn't recognize that? Are there signs of somebody to look for, you know, to see an adult with a child or somebody out and about who may be trying to ask for help in a way that I may not understand?
Yeah, all of the above. It's a very, very loaded question. 25 different forms of sexual exploitation, trafficking. We all watch the movie Taken, and all of a sudden there's an imprint that it's kidnapping. Only 1% of the cases are kidnapping cases, 1%. The fastest rising trend of sex trafficking, children being sold for sex in this country, is what's called familial. It means they're sold by a parent, a loved one, a coach, a teacher, someone they trust and know, because that predator has gained access. It's a game of proximity. You know, you see Simone Biles talking about the U.S. gymnastics team doctor exploiting girls for 13 years. This is so close to home. People would vomit if they know how close it is. And by default, maybe you haven't personally been touched, but you are being made complicit by the United States government at the moment. When we send federal funding and aid, humanitarian aid, to groups that are infiltrating our country, who are here.
Will's staying out a sec. I don't know what happened, but he'll be right back. This is just what happens in life in general.
The government is by default making us explicit because they are allowing borders to be open. They're allowing children to flood into the country. Our system cannot sustain it. So signs you can look for is a child's behavior doesn't change. People don't change. If a child seriously changes behavior, mood, peer group, being secluded, all of a sudden being a super extrovert, you have to ask and consider, could sexual exploitation be in the mix? And you go, well, I would know if my child was being raped. I'm not talking about, it doesn't start with rape. Do you know what your child's watching online? Do you play, Dad, do you play the games on Xbox with your son where he plays in live chat rooms? Do you know that the #1 form of exploiting children today, boys, is through Xbox and PlayStation? Are you playing those games? Do you know who's having conversation with him? Do you know if your daughter has sent a nude picture of herself in secret to a boyfriend? Because recorded, 65% of all high school girls in America says that they have in fact sent such a picture. Are you certain that your child is not part of pornography even without her knowing? You don't, unless you're educated on how the predators truly operate, how they take time. They take time to break into the life of a child. This is not snatch and grab. We have children that are being sexually exploited while they're sitting at the dinner table on their phone with the parents present. This is an evil that has come into our midst because we tolerate things like drag queen story hour at libraries. We tolerate things like child sexual exploitation and comprehensive sex ed curriculum in the classroom for 10-year-old boys, introducing them to sexual concepts that their brain's not ready for. And we think, well, I mean, we're going to give a little, or we're just not aware, or we just don't ask questions of the school board. This thing is so layered that a conference like this, in a setting like that, I peel the onion away for the parent. One, we look at their home. Is your child actually safe? Have they been approached by a predator? Is their radar up? If a predator approaches your child, does he see a potential victim, or does he see someone who's aware? He needs to see someone who's aware that'll call him out. All these things. So there is no family in America that can sit back now and say, we're good, thank you very much, we don't need to have this conversation. If you've got children, we're having this conversation because they're pressing it into their culture in the classroom. And again, the teacher is a familial figure. It's a trusted figure. If a teacher introduces a sexual concept to a child, it comes with rite of passage, it comes with license. Now you can't expect that 10-year-old boy, when a stranger online is approaching him with a sexual conversation, to now know, well, it's not okay to talk to this guy about sex because I just spoke to Mr. Johnson about anal sex this morning in the classroom. And it's desensitization in culture because we're learning, even in the church, to tolerate sexual immorality. And that's like playing with snakes, saying, I'm learning how to handle snakes, I won't get bit. It's going to bite. We need to learn how to not handle snakes and call truth out and say, look, we need to raise our children in a sexually moral culture, period. End of story.
Wow. You're right. There is so much to unpack here, so many layers to peel back. And I'm already sort of feeling a little bit of regret that I didn't have all this information and knowledge or awareness when my kids were still little and in the house and even in their teen years, because I've definitely seen ripple effects of what's out there that parents like me just had no idea because all of this technology was new when we were raising our kids. Let's talk real quick before you got to go about your two nonprofits, your organizations you have, SHAREtogether and Jaco Booyens Ministries. What do they do, and how is it going to make a difference when people support your work?
Barb, I don't know why, but for some reason I've completely lost audio on you. If you can hear me, I can't hear you at all.
Oh, we can hear you. Okay, hang on. We're gonna check this again. That's okay. This is what happens when you
edit this together. I'm sorry.
That is okay. He can't even hear me, and I'm answering him.
Can you hear me? Thumbs up.
Yes.
I can't hear you at all. I'm sorry.
Okay. 1 sec.
That's strange.
How's that? Okay.
If you want me to sign off and sign back in real quick, and we can wrap it up in like 5 minutes. You want me to do that?
No, you can't hear me. How can I get this across to him? 1 sec. I'm texting you.
Were we lost in
Text me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and text him, and that is okay. And while we're figuring this out, hey Jaco, this is me talking to you while we're live here. I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap this up here. We'll put some more.
I haven't done a text either. What is going on here?
More information on everything that you do. We cannot wait to have you at the summit. Thank you so much for being part of this. Okay. See, people, this is what happens when you go live. Sometimes, things go sideways, right? So it's not even that big a deal because I'm sure that you caught enough in just these few minutes here to catch on that what Jaco does and what his organizations do is so powerful and so important. I was all out of breath this morning because I was just having one of those mornings, and I slid into here sort of like hot and wild and not entirely locked and loaded, but Jaco makes it easy. I feel like I could talk to him all day long. Super excited to have him as part of our summit. Again, we're going to be sharing more information on Jaco and his work and what they do. He is good friends with Jaco Booyens, who's also speaking at our event and has powerful nonprofit work that he does as well. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Are you back, Jaco? Okay, that's okay. I just sent that to you. It's okay.
I'm not getting your text, Barbara. I'm looking at the text. I just text you.
That's hilarious. Okay,
well,
we're going to end this live here. Go ahead and end it. Thank you so much.
My text went through to Barb.
I'll go to Jaco. Go ahead and end it. We will update this info for. We are not so live, are we, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Real life.
Yeah.